Hey folks, it's Napalm Dawn
Not
on
in town.
G for G. Today we're taking a look at Diablo 4 as the open beta just about comes to a close. During the closed beta, the weekend that you could only get into it if you had pre-ordered the game, and this beta weekend I was playing my rogue. So the reason why I played a rogue, I had kind of explained in the first video, is that I did a Demon Hunter in 3, did a Demon Hunter in Diablo Immortal, so that's kind of what I've been feeling lately. Diablo 1, I don't necessarily remember what I was playing there as a primary, and Diablo 2 I played just about everything, ironically, except for a rogue and a sorceress. I did a little bit of a barbarian online, but I was primarily a paladin, a druid, a necromancer, and a javazon, which is an Amazon that specialized in javelins. So prior, I actually hadn't heard anything about the classes that much prior to it. I didn't do a super amount of research, but what was interesting is that in my first video somebody had commented that they were going to do a barbarian, did a barbarian in the closed beta, and actually retracted their pre-order. They said, nope, don't like the game. They happened to see my video and saw me on my rogue and saw me actually having a blast and went, okay, maybe in that case it's the class that I picked and not the game. And I gotta say, the game has had its small share of issues. The queue has been kind of bad at times, although here in the closed beta, I have been doing pretty good. I have not had too many really bad queues, except for the first night that the closed beta popped up. The stuttering and staggering, though, has definitely been a little bit of an issue. Sometimes you cross into a new subzone, you get a little bit of a stutter, and I did say in the first video that I have a feeling this is eventually going to cost me, that a bunch of enemies are going to be on the screen heading towards me, and, oh, a Lilith statue I didn't catch. They're going to be heading towards me, and they're going to catch up to me just as I get through a stagger, and sure enough, it's happened, but it hasn't killed me. Right now, speaking of killing me, my rogue is at a point where she's not really going to die. She's got a good amount of her own health, and she has a tremendous amount of procs and everything, and she pretty much is really hard to take down. The biggest challenge that I had is when I was doing the fort, that is... Actually, I think this is the area right up here. Yeah. That fort that's over there, there is a boss. It's the one where you kill the blood tumors and everything. I had killed all the mini blood tumors, killed the big one, went down into the basement, and that boss down there kicked my ass during the closed beta. When the open beta started, and I thought I heard that there was going to be a wipe, I logged in planning to do a druid because I had already done the rogue, but the rogue was still active. She hadn't been wiped, so I said, okay. I went and got a level, went back into that basement, and one-shot the boss, and then completed everything that the beta has to offer on the rogue. The story's great so far. The music is absolutely banging. And the rogue is a tremendous amount of fun. She just moves through things really easy. She's pretty quick between the dodges and even doing some trick caltrop dropping. She goes through zones really quickly. Also, as I said, she's been largely unstoppable. So, because I did go ahead and complete everything on the rogue, I did fire up the druid. Now, some people have said druids are kind of meaty and slow. I've read some forum complaints that people are upset the only race they can do for the druid is the fat boy race, and to be honest, I don't really think it's that bad. As people have explained, it is lore appropriate that these kind of stocky, hardy humans are the ones who make up the druid class. It's similar to the Kultiran race over in World of Warcraft. They're just stout, stocky people. We'll see the druid a little later on in this video. But I wanted to show you how much of the map that I've completed here on the rogue. However, something's happening, so hold on 1 second. So this is an event that I have never done before. And it's basically like the game that as you can see, watch my health load a little bit. Any damage I take is basically completely negated by the time I go ahead and kill something. I love my basic abilities on this character. My energy creators, the puncher and the forceful arrow, have been a really, really good combo. Puncher kind of reminds me of that scene in the first John Wick when he is going through the upper level of the building, and he knocks a bunch of knives out of a weapon case and just chucks them off. And people that he's fighting, and he just basically throws like and lands all of them, and the people that he's fighting. That's what puncture reminds me. It's just basically John Wick chucking knives. Forceful arrow causes normal, which makes my rapid fire regen energy, and also it is thoroughly great for boss damage. A single target, things melt. That combination. Puncture is going to crowd control and AoE. And my build has changed a little bit as the beta has gone on, mostly due to the skills that the gear has given me. Occasionally I've changed up a piece of gear and then wound up losing a skill and going ahead and learning another. So this is the zone right here that originally had kicked my ass, because you kill all the blood tumors here and then you go down into that basement area, and that's where the boss was. The only other thing that was challenging for me on this character was the Butcher. So the Butcher, unlike previous Diablos, is not a dedicated spawn. He can appear randomly when you're in a dungeon. He's usually pretty loud and clangy. You kind of know when he's coming, but sometimes you open a door and he's just there and he's charging at you. From what I've seen on the people have been able to beat him. However, it's usually 50-50 results. I've seen people say they died to him twice and beat him twice. Sometimes some people were saying 3-to-1 ratios. They would die 3 times and beat him about once. The Butcher's really, really tough. Mostly because he is immune to slays and knockbacks. So what my host is running here, you already know about the Butcher and the forceful arrow, but I've also run fire and now at one point I was my penetrating shot was much better. Every time it pierces somebody, it split off sub arrows to the side, and they were really, really good in the clears. However, that piece of clear got out of date, and I was trouble, that was fixed imprinted from a fix that I found. And when you do the affixes, you have the ones that are in the book, and then you have the ones that are in inventory. When you slot something that's in the inventory, you get it to zero. So you can't take it out of that item and spread it around, but if it's in the book, you can. I kind of missed that. It was really good AoE damage. So one of the other things that was fun about this weekend, as compared to the first weekend that I was playing this, is I successfully got this working on my Steam Deck. The... Oh, okay. We gotta clear this out. Town portal. Caltrops is pretty handy for when you're out in the field. It's also good for just movement. You just turn around, put your back in the direction you want to go, drop the caltrops, and you get a little bit of a speed boost and anything, if anything's chasing you slow. So, alright, here's the map as it's going to end for me whenever the open beta ends. Just want to get a little final shot of the map over here. So, here are all the altars of Lilith that I've claimed. Boy, these three are really close together up there. I feel like there's definitely some areas where there's really, really big gaps, like down here by the Darkened Way and Dead Man's Dredge. I feel like something should definitely be here in the south and the southeast. Could be that it is, and I've just missed it. So for the dungeons that have gear that you can earn, these aspects and everything, even if you're not playing that class, you could go in the dungeon and earn the aspect and it goes into your book. Then if you do happen to play that class, you can pull the aspect out of the book and actually use it. I found, to be honest, that there wasn't a lot of rogue ones out there, and I also think there wasn't a lot of necromancer ones out there. To me, it seems like druid, sorceress, and barbarian have had the most on this map. Yeah, and it's weird. Some like this one over here, the lucky hit for barbarians only. Rogues have a lucky hit too. It would have been nice if it was more generic. So World of Warcraft, if you get a trinket that DPS can use, and you have a strength character and you have an agility character, for the way WoW does it is that for the agility character, your agility's what gets boosted by the trinket. If you're a strength character, it's your strength. It'd be kind of neat if Diablo 4 could do that, like this lucky hit aspect over here. Sure, it does something for a barbarian, but how about if I did it on my rogue? It would have a proc that did something for the rogue. Makes it a little bit more friendly. But I've got pretty much the majority of the map discovered that you can possibly get. May have a little bit of a weakness up here, and I do still have a side story for the bear tribe over there. Let's see, there's barbarian, sorcerer, necromancer, all the way up here. This is one of the only rogue ones that's out there that I haven't done. Just because I don't find it particularly that interesting. Becoming injured while crowd control grants you unstoppable. Necromancer. Druid. Barbarian over here. Swapping weapons 6 times. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and split off real quick and go over to the druid. So he's named Karnov after a particular game You guys can research the Karnov game. I'll leave that up to you. It is a trek down gaming history to find the game that Karnov comes from. It's quite old. I believe the original manufacturer, similar to Ikari Warriors and Victory Road, it was a Data East game. So here he is, he's 6, and he only has, right now, Storm Strike and Maul. The way that I've got a plan is to Storm Strike a couple times to get things vulnerable, and then Maul, which immediately shifts you into Bear. I find it interesting what they're doing with the druids in this one as compared to 2, that you don't exactly stay in that form unless you keep using
yes, well, Bozan has yet to return from delivery.
So if you keep mauling, you wind up staying as a bear. It used to be that if you shifted into your werewolf or werebear form, you stayed there unless you cast a spell or an ability for one of the other forms. This one is sort of like on a timer.
The new militia recruits have been... Mind giving them a cheer?
So if I had the level that I could go and see the occultist over here, you would see that the aspect book would have all of the aspects that my rogue had been earning. And any of the druid ones would actually be available to me. What I didn't show is my rogue's gear and how decked out in oranges she is. I think every slot has an orange except for the second of my throwing daggers is a yellow. My druid, on the other hand, is grays and blues, but does have this one set of boots that I had put in my chest on the rogue, and it actually managed to come over and be accessible on my druid. I think this one I have to
impressive.
Cheer these guys up if I remember correctly. Yes. So there are a few things in this game where you have to learn to use the emote wheel. There was a altar that you needed to pray at. Let me see if I can remember that one. Thanks. I think it was this one for the thanks. You had to give thanks at an altar, and that's how you got something out of it. And over here you have to use the cheer to raise the spirits of the guards, basically. I can't really say if I find the druid to be slow or cumbersome yet. Mostly because he's still too low.
We were born in sin.
But it seems
children of darkness.
Decent.
But the Father's light can be sought through penitence and faith. Walk in the light.
Yeah, we're gonna... For this quest, you have to just basically wait.
We must be ever vigilant against fear.
So yeah,
check the night's report before you go.
Playing on the Steam Deck was a lot of fun because it kind of enabled me to
Reverend Mother,
multitask a little bit, chill out, watch a couple things that I wanted to on TV, and also be playing this. It was a little crappy at first. Two things that were happening with it. One, Diablo Immortal wasn't working on my Steam Deck, and I posted about that on Reddit, and it does seem like other people are able to replicate it. Nobody's like, hey, it works for me, why doesn't it work for you? Some people thought it worked for them, but everybody that posted there was able to replicate my problem, so it seems like it's not just a me problem. So Diablo 4 originally did not work. You always get that error that it can't find the GPU, but you just click OK and it goes anyway. The thing for me is it was kind of acting like Diablo Immortal. So what I did is I switched the Proton layer to experimental, and that seemed to work fine. However, it especially as you did these kind of transitions, like leaving the town and going back outside, it really stutter and hang up pretty badly, and then it just go black. So what I did was I researched how to update how to upgrade the VRAM to its highest notch, and I did that. I went and booted into the system settings, which is hold down the power button and the plus button for volume, go to the utilities, and then set your VRAM buffer up to the 4G. So that helped quite a bit. And the other thing that I did is I used the new utility that was built to set my speed down to the minimum, or the minimum of a 40 hertz. So it did not try to push it up towards the 60 FPS, but actually capped it down. That before I finally had another crash that happened, but it got a lot better. And it's good to see that because it recognizes gamepads natively, and the ability to start playing and not have to configure anything, to see the other joysticks working, see the abilities getting dished out, the Steam Deck buttons. That was a lot of fun. Wow, so as you can see here, well, the level up burst helped, but no joke, no pun intended over here, but this druid is getting a bit. Then again, I realized that I was slightly spoiled who had so many skill abilities that I've forgotten what it's like to be this weak and have to rely on the combo I like to do is the Storm Strike, again, rifle, and then switch the bear mode. Boy, that health management is get used to that. He's kind of hanging in there, though. Oh, we got a big boy. Likes the flying fire. Yeah, I saw that coming. Okay. Basically, you gotta hope that you get a lot of vial drops. And wow, an orange at this level, that's kind of interesting. Your murmuring idols or obelisks will also carry over, and your gold. If you notice down here, 75k, that is not my druid's gold. He's brand new. There's no way he could have earned that. That is just a holdover from my rogue, and the same thing for the little idols over there. Damn, legendary armor at 6. That's crazy. The good thing is you have the mark as junk, which you have a lot of RPGs that use that system. Hell, even Immortal Wind Systems uses it, so that's kind of nice to be out in the field. Mark stuff is junk that you know you can just auto-sell when you get back into town. That's kind of handy. Alright, so let's see what we've got here. Shifted to Werebear. Ah, alright. I'm going to go ahead and use the Werebear ability. Even if surrounded like this, would be just a little bit hardier. But that might be one of the complaints about druid so far. I will say the game does seem generous enough with the health vials so that you get a little bit injured and then just use them and know that you'll probably get something to drop later on. And when you're fighting the bosses, they have notches, and it seems like every time you push a boss into its next notch, it's not like he goes into a different phase and the abilities get different or that much harder. At times, that's true. But what seems to happen when you hit the notches is that you will often get violence. So it's pretty handy if you know you're coming up to the notch to just kind of go balls out. Try to get the push to the next phase. You know that will be saved by a version drop.
She will have your soul.
So actually, now that I have this Pulverize, which is a druid ability in World of Warcraft, the damage of the druid does seem to harpies would be I was getting like 15, 27 and that also helps. Ooh, that was cool. Alright, it is definitely a good job. I've waited again. Wait a minute. But it definitely is on the road, that's for sure. And I can imagine people who are used to Diablo 2 Druid playing this Druid and maybe not giving it enough time to get up to the higher levels and abilities and going, oof, okay, well, this character sucks. But I think if you manage to persevere a little bit, the Druid does not seem too bad. Barbarian, I don't know about. I've heard the complaints that the Barbarian is playing very, very slowly, and I don't know if that can be fixed by just pushing it towards the better gear and the better abilities. And one thing that's interesting about the Druid is the Druid has two weapon styles.
I've waited for you.
Wield style, where it uses a two-handed weapon, or it uses a one-handed weapon with a totem. And I think that's kind of cool. To me, it feels like it plays into it just plays into how WoW handles. However, it's a thing that typically, I mean, warriors can do it too, but for the most part, the only people who really switch between two-handers and dual-wielding are the casters, like daggers and hands to staves, really. You don't see too many melee characters that do that. Oh yeah, the pulverizes really help us through that. I think the vulnerable pulverize combo is going to be pretty solid. And honestly, the spirit cost doesn't seem to be too bad. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and spam pulverize, but just the amount I've been using it seems to be pretty solid. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. I think I'll pop back onto the road real quick so you can see. Oh, that might be painful when I log back in. But yeah, so far I'm very, very happy about my pre-order of Diablo 4. When it starts up, if the characters do not transfer from the beta to the live game, which they probably won't, I more than likely would start a rogue again and try very, very hard to emulate the build that I have. So up here at the basic skills, I went into puncture, picked up enhanced puncture, and then primary puncture. The ricochet is really solid, and then the energy regeneration from enhanced is very good. Did forceful arrow, went into enhanced forceful arrow, and did the knockback. This is very, very handy from keeping enemies away from the rogue. I would definitely do this entire section again. Here are the melee options over here, which I did not go into. Down over here at the core spenders, I went into rapid fire, which is great for single target DPS, especially when you're making things vulnerable from forceful arrow. Picked up stutter step, but honestly I don't necessarily know that I would pick this up again. I don't think it's that great. Enhanced rapid fire, and then improved rapid fire. So this is a key over here. Gain 15 energy per cast of rapid fire when it damages a vulnerable enemy. Barrage is coming off of a piece of gear. I did not pick it up, but I've seen a lot of rogues around me use it. Penetrating shot was really, really good when I had the split arrows happening. Now I don't really care about it that much. Grab sturdy. And grab siphoning strikes. Heal for 2% of your maximum life when you critically strike close enemies. I do tend to crit a lot, so this is another thing that keeps you alive. Your agility skills, this is coming from my gear, but I can say I do like caltrops. Shadow step requires melee weapons, and so does dash, believe it or not. Dark Shroud is really, really good for the health of your rogue. I would definitely recommend everybody picking up Dark Shroud if they can. Enhanced Dark Shroud, and then countering Dark Shroud. When you have at least 2 shadows active, you gain critical strike chance, which also goes into her healing if you've picked it up. Concealment is coming from a piece of gear. It's basically Vanish from World of Warcraft. It's a stealth. And then you have some things that say when you come out of concealment, something happens. I had Smoke Grenade for a little bit from a piece of gear. It helps if you have things that can combo off of Dazed. If you don't, I don't think it's that necessary. Poison Trap was also pretty solid. I had that on a piece of gear for a little while. Here in my imbuement skills, sadly, I have nothing over there. Same thing for ultimates. And then for my spec, I went into combo points. I didn't stay with Inner Sight for a particularly long period of time. So here is how decked out the rogue is at the end of this beta. As you can see, all Arges pretty well, not necessarily tremendously upgraded, but the gems are going pretty solid. This rare dagger is the only rare that I've got. Everything else is a solid legendary. I prefer to use a bow if I can. The crossbow is good, but a little slow. When the bows just started outclassing the crossbow that I had, I finally made the switch. There's Vigo's Amulet. I love this little Bane Breather Mask Transmog that I have, and then there's all this gear that I've got to go through and either shred or sell. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely extremely happy that I pre-ordered this game and don't feel like I would want to retract the pre-order. And when this comes out in June, definitely going to be playing it, especially since I know I can also get it functional on the Steam Deck. That's going to be really, really handy, and it's going to be a lot easier to play this game this time around compared to some of the other Diablos, because of the fact that in my World of Warcraft guild we're not actively raiding right now, so my time commitment to WoW isn't really as intense as it's been for some of the for at least Diablo 3 and its expansions when it came out. There is a way to find some horses and some barding in the beta. I have not
Take care,
tried
traveler.
to do it. It's basically, there are some really good farming routes that are coming out to get the horses, and I think there's a spectral horse. There's a lot of interesting barding and armor too. Just haven't committed any time to try and farm that kind of stuff, especially in the beta. When the game's live, that's a different story. This intercom damage increase while standing still is pretty good in combat, especially if I get that shield when I hit an elite. I can just stand there and do the forceful arrow rapid fire combo, and by standing still, when that gets up to 30 and the combo points get up to 3, this is a lot of single target damage. I really do miss my upgraded penetrating shot with the side arrows. It's really, really good if people are funneling into a narrow doorway. Just being able to spread the shot on the other side of the door is solid, but if you can funnel characters or funnel enemies, rapid fire, forceful arrow is a good way to go. And then puncture is good to just run away, spin around, puncture them, and get the slow, and then go to another combo. Either drop caltrops for another slow, and then go into your forceful arrow rapid fire combination. So that is it for me here in Diablo 4. Hope everybody enjoyed the open beta weekend. I don't think the queues were as bad as this time, so I think the people who wanted maximum enjoyment out of this beta should have been able to get it. And if you're having some real issues with the characters that you're picking, I would recommend going rogue or sorcerer. From what I've heard, I actually have not really heard anybody weigh in on the necromancer at all. I don't know if it's running slow like the druids and the barbarians, or is running quicker like the sorcerers and the rogues. I was out in the world at one point, and a sorcerer was near me, and just huge packs of shit were just melting almost instantly. So I think there's a lot of viable, really, really good sorcerer builds out there. And as for the complaint about Diablo 4 always having to be online, have an on connection, I don't get the complaints about that. I mean, yes, when you look at Diablo 1 and 2, they were offline games if you were playing them in the offline mode and not the online one, but you can clearly see that 4 is more like an MMO. I mean, this is another character that's walking by me here. I think if it had the option to be disconnected and completely play solo, I think that would be nice. But it's very, very clear that they made this into an MMO similar to
May the light keep you.
WoW, or the online mode of the From Software games where you can get invaded and everything. Yes, the From Software games, you can go offline if you want to, but I think to the people that are confused that this is always online, I don't know that they're quite understanding the gist of what Diablo 4 is going for. So it's a little surprising to see that complaint. I kind of figured people would be able to figure that out really, really easily, what Diablo 4 is going for, and shouldn't be that upset that it is a online game. Anyway, hope everybody enjoyed the Diablo 4 open beta weekend, and let me know if you have considered stopping your pre-order and you won't be playing in June when this game goes live, and if you've had any mind changes by seeing the betas, either playing it directly or seeing streamers. Do you have any changed opinions on whether or not you would get Diablo 4 when it comes out in June? So this is Nate Von Von signing off.